Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Women Empowerment Series today with me, Farisha, and I'm honored and delighted to have a very special guest with me is Vannary Kong. Hi Vannary, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be a featured guest on your series. Thank you for having me.
And it's really an honor to have you, Vannary Kong. You are the president and also founder of USASEAN. Yes.
Yes, and I'm also a research fellow at the Cambodian Institute for Cooperation and Peace, and I'm also currently a graduate student at Harvard University. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Wonderful. Can you tell us more about yourself?
Sure. So I'm originally from obviously the United States. My mom's a refugee from Cambodia. My father is African American, but my focus is on US and ASEAN relations and what does that look like in international trade and cybersecurity measures and the role of multilateralism with the engagement in the region.
Can you tell us what is the challenging moment, the most challenging moment in your career, and how do you overcome it? How do you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so that's a very great question. One of the most challenging parts of my career was honestly finding the resources and the opportunities to push me in the right direction, especially when I was an undergrad. How do you find that motivation to move on and proceed forward when you don't have the support in places that are very traditional, such as your family and friends, and when you kind of had to rely on yourself and your own will to move forward? So what I ended up doing was finding to overcome these hurdles was to find my passion and my reason for living, what gives me that breath of air to wake up each morning. And my passion was advancing the US along with kind of my ancestral background of Southeast Asia and seeing what that looks like. As I was raised in a Southeast Asian background here in the US. And then honestly, just believing in myself and pushing forward, finding my own opportunities, finding great mentors and leaders in the community, such as yourself, that I can talk to, engage, and finding solutions to some of the world's most pressing issues.
In your own words, what is women empowerment to you?
Women's empowerment is a sisterhood of like-minded leaders, activists, government officials, CSO leaders, students, and just, any woman that's considered an innovator in their field. Everyone has a role at the table and everyone plays a significant role. It takes a wave of us to make the necessary changes. So women's empowerment is coming together as a sisterhood, coming together to share resources, to elevate each other, not to compete with each other, realizing that we can bring the best out of each other and truly create a harmonious place, because some of the most iconic leaders were women itself. And I truly believe that we are progressing forward, but we do have a lot of room of improvement along the way. And it's great to see what's being done, especially in today's times.
Who are the most inspiring women figures that you admire? Someone that you look up to as an idol, someone that you admire personally?
Yes, so that's a really great question. I have a few. For one, I would definitely have to say the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. She's amazing. And then another favorite would be our current Vice President, Kamala Harris. I would also like to say in terms of the recent events that what happened with the anti-Asian hate in the community, a very vocal speaker has been Representative Grace Meng of Texas. So she's another one. And then just from my own personal background, I also really admire Miss Meghan Markle. For someone that's also mixed race, sometimes our story of being caught in the middle is very hard to tell. So for her to share her story with the world, I think it's very remarkable.
What is your advice to the younger generation today, the millennials?
My advice to the generation, the next generation, the millennials, is to find your purpose and, like I said, what wakes you up in the morning. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer for individuals. So if you still are looking for that purpose, try every opportunity, volunteer, study, apply for that next opportunity that really scares you the most, because normally if it scares you, then it's the right passion for you because you can overcome that fear. travel to another country.
Comfort zone. You have to step outside of your comfort zone and conquer your fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then do something that's never been done before in your peer group. Learn a new language. I know for some of my peers, there's very few that speak Bahasa Indonesian, so taking on those new opportunities. And then another, just kind of for logistics purposes, making those investments in yourself does take that financial backing. So I always say this, it's always just a good good advice I have to just always make sure that, you're not spending your money on extra stuff unless it's like that investment, such as a study abroad program and education or professional development, but making sure your finances are in order, because a lot of times that's what drives you to elevate to the next level. So always being responsible as well.
And I agree with you, Vannary. We have to step outside of our comfort zone in order to achieve something in life. It's uncomfortable, but we have to conquer our fears. And it's not easy to conquer our fears because it's all in the mind, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that, because once you get over that initial fear and what seems impossible turns out to be possible and completed, it just gives you this sense of relief. And another piece of advice that I want to give young people is, locate pictures of where you want to be, who you want to be, what you want to look like, what you want to be doing, places you want to go, and put it on, put it in somewhere where you can look at every day, like a vision board. And each day you look at it, you internalize it, and then you say, that's where I want to be.
Like a vision.
Manifest it, exactly. And then soon before you know it, you're going to be, leading the world, just like some of our fearless women leaders that we have today.
Okay, so we have come to the last question that I want to ask you in today's episode. What is your view on the current shooting in Atlanta with the Asian hate crime? So what is your view on that? And is there anything that you would like to share on that?
Sure. I just want to apologize for the families that are really affected by this case, and everyone. I know for me, when I heard the news, it was just very, very disheartening, because
really devastating. And I'm watching the news from Malaysia, and it's like,
yes, and I believe that in order for us to move forward, there needs to be a focal point on the fact of white supremacy, and not a broader focus on the trauma that lives between other minority groups that may face similar or more discrimination. So I do have some information to share. So recently you had one of my favorite women empowered leaders I like to look up to, Representative Grace Ming of Texas, has really been vocal about condemning the hate crimes against the Asian American community. And I would also like to challenge individuals who don't find these issues important to really honestly do your research. Within the US, there's been a lot of coalitions, especially between the African American and Asian communities, especially during the Civil Rights Movement. There was one prominent Japanese American leader who befriended Malcolm X, and her name is Yuri Kochiyama. She was a civil rights activist who formed a friendship with Malcolm X while he was still promoting, Black rights during the civil rights movement. And, there was just so much coalition with Yellow Peril and especially the NAACP in the past. And I think now we can bring times and really hone in on the resources and create these solutions that are available to the Asian community, especially the elderly that are being targeted by these hate crimes. So some organizations that I definitely want to highlight. First, I will definitely highlight my own with the U.S. ASEAN Youth Council. We will be putting out a PDF file of organizations to support in the next coming of weeks, because there are a lot of resources out on social media, and we definitely want to create an easier access to things. And then just some mental health resources, because this is very traumatizing to us. There's a racial trauma toolkit by Boston College, the Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Therapist Directory, as well, to find someone from your community that can resonate with you. There is a Subtle Asia Mental Health on Facebook too, if you want to join a Facebook group, if you may not be able to afford the mental health services. And there's a crisis line for 1-800-273-TALK, and then Asian languages as well, because not everyone may be able to have the opportunity to speak English. So that's 1-877-990-8585. Or if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone, you can literally text connect to 741-741 to text someone. And then organizations to donate on GoFundMe. There support the cause for anti-Asian American violence. There's a GoFundMe for victims of violent crimes in the Bay Area. And for those of you who don't know, the Bay Area is in California. And there is a petition for media coverage, because the way the media is framing it, it's certain racial groups against each other instead of focusing on the problem, which is white supremacy. If you want to volunteer, you can help escort seniors in Oakland to prevent these crimes from happening. And then there's also a report, if you see something, say something, and that's on Instagram, Stop AAPI Hate, or you can go to the website, stopaapihate.org. And there are several organizations that you can support, but a few that I will kind of share is the Asian Law Caucus, the Chinese Progressive Association, Oakland's Vietnamese Community Center, the Filipino Culture Center, and the Asian Prisoner Support Committee.
Thank you so much, Vannary, for sharing the information, because those are the very useful information for people to contact and reach out. Yeah. And okay, last but not least, we have come to the end of the podcast. Okay, so what else that we can do to educate people to respect each other, to embrace each other's diversity, and to love one another? What can we do to spread the love, and also to tell people, hey, it's okay, we're different, but we embrace that diversity, and we embrace the differences and the uniqueness.
I think in order to promote, diversity and spread the love and joy is actually, situations like this, Nafresia. We're both in different countries and we're having this dialogue. And the interesting thing about COVID-19 is because we live in a digital space, it's easier to get access to good information, but making sure but making sure you have the right information as well. So I like to challenge individuals as you're doing this research. There's going to be a lot of rhetoric putting us against each other, but honing in on what is right and what is wrong. It is not right to take someone's life because of the color of their skin or their background. We are all humans and we should all love one another and promote one another. And I would challenge those that have these mindsets of being closed-minded and that haven't really with the closed-minded individuals that may not have traditionally reached out to those communities, to take a step back. We've all been discriminated in one form or the other. You wanted support during the time, in your time of need. Well, it's time for us to step up and help others as well. We're not taking away from your cause. We're advancing together to form a coalition against something that's just not right, and that's homegrown terrorism here in the U.S.
Thank you so much, Vannary. Thank you for sharing your views and sharing your insight in my podcast series. Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers today? Maybe on your latest project, your program with USASEAN Youth Council?
Yeah, so we, outside of just creating the toolkit for the API community, we will also be hosting an event on Myanmar and the situation that's going on in that country and ways to support. And we're also hosting at the end of this year a consultation with the United Nations on climate change. For those young people interested in taking a step forward and creating a policy proposal on how to save our planet, we definitely encourage you to step foot. And then we also have next month our colorism in Southeast Asia, which is featured by yours truly, Miss Nafresia, as well. And then we also are going to be planning an event with Caring for Cambodia in honor of Thai, Cambodia, and Lao New Year in the middle of April. So please be on the lookout for that.
Okay, and can you share us more info about US-ASEAN Youth Council, and where can people get more info on your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn?
Of course, yeah. So the US-ASEAN Youth Council was created to, for one, promote engagement between the U.S. and the ASEAN regions and those that, in the broader community at hand. And then we're also wanting to help cultivate the next generation of youth leaders by connecting them to opportunities, speaking engagements, publications. And then we also wanted to reunite the Southeast Asia community here in the U.S. So we're featuring an ASEAN language series, cultural events, and providing that information about what's going on in Asia and abroad to our U.S. member base. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We also have a website as well, and you can sign up for our newsletter, and our membership is free. And for those interested in joining our board, we definitely welcome more youth leaders as well. But yes, you can definitely follow us on at USAYC _. And then on Facebook, it's just the U.S. ASEAN Youth Council to follow us for any up-to-date information. And we're also interested in partnering with any like-minded organizations as well. So if you have an idea, we'll be more than happy to listen in and possibly host it as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vannary. Thank you for spending the time with me on Women Empowerment Series video podcast. And I hope to those of you who are watching this, I hope that you are inspired and also motivated by the sharing from Vannary Kong. And if you want to get more info, you can log on to her website at USASEAN Youth Council, and also follow her LinkedIn and also IG, Instagram, US ASEAN Youth Council, and also Facebook page. Till then, stay safe, take care, bye.
Bye.